Hello, JAG family. My name is Allison Cornelli, and I thank you for joining me today. This workshop is called Be the Leader of the Pack, and I kind of chose that name because we're going to be talking about leadership development, and we're going to be talking about being an officer for your career association chapter. So I thought that being a leader of the pack is a good analogy for what you want to do in your career association. So my name is Allison Cornelli. I come from Dayton, Ohio, and I've been a member of the JAG family for a couple of decades now. So I have some experience working with career association chapters and helping young people develop into really successful leaders. So I'm excited to share some of these ideas with you today. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about are some of the elements of effective leadership. These are the things that you see and you know that leadership is doing very well in that group or that organization. And of course, we're mainly going to be talking about the career association, your own chapter today. So before we get any further, I want you to grab a pencil and a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be, just a scratch piece of paper or the back of a gum wrapper. I don't really care. But just something to write something down. I have an activity, just a really short activity I'm going to do with you later on in the presentation. So in the meantime, while you're grabbing that, I'm going to keep talking. I have this quote down here from Michael Jordan, and you may know he's known as GOAT, the greatest of all time basketball player, and he played for the Chicago Bulls. But I really like this quote because when you're talking about being a leader, it's not only talking about leading, it's also about being a part of the team. If you know anything about Michael Jordan, you know that he was definitely a leader on his team. But if he didn't have a team, he couldn't have won the championships. So the talent wins the games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. He needed to have a team to be able to win those championships. All right. So one of the elements of having effective leadership in a group is having clear direction and goals. So thankfully, the Career Association already has the goals and direction set up for you. These should look familiar to you. You have these 5 goals that each chapter strives to meet, and this is what's going to drive your chapter activities. You have leadership development, civic awareness, service learning, career preparation, and social awareness. So these 5 areas are going to drive all of the planning. It's going to drive all of the activities that you do. And what's nice about it is your career specialist is going to be working with you throughout your time in the Career Association and to be able to help you learn competencies so you can graduate high school and you can get a good start on your career. So all 5 of these areas lend itself to meeting those goals for you personally and then also for your own Career Association chapter. Another element that you can tell when there's been really good, effective leadership is sense of accountability. So that's going to start at the very beginning is your chapter is going to have a plan of work. Okay. And you're going to help with the other officers that are in your chapter and your advisor and also the other chapter members come up with a plan of work. How are you going to meet those 5 goals that we just talked about on the last slide? Okay, so this plan of work is going to lead to meeting the goals of your Career Association chapter. The next thing that you can tell when there's been effective leadership is task delegation. And sometimes leaders have a difficult time with this. And some of it comes from a sense of responsibility because you want the project to go well. You want the different tasks that are leading up to the project to go well. Maybe you've been really instrumental in, developing the tasks that need to happen. However, back to the Michael Jordan reference, he couldn't win the game with only his points. He had to have other people doing things. And not everybody on a team is going to score all the points either. Sometimes they're being the assist and getting those baskets made. So just thinking about developing your own projects, you want to have other people involved, because if you're going to do everything, then the other members are going to say, I don't need to be involved because they always do everything. So then you don't have that group, and then that you're losing your leadership if you're doing all of the work. So you want to make sure that you are asking your fellow members to be involved too. And that makes them feel good, and that makes the whole group work better when everybody has a role and a sense of belonging. So we had just talked about the different elements that you know when a group has effective leadership. So let's talk about these skills that are going to make that happen. All right, communication skills. This is going to cover a lot of different things that you're going to do with your group as a leader. We could spend an entire presentation on just communication skills, but I wanted to hone in on a few tools to help you to be able to communicate. Many of you may be in a virtual or a hybrid setting right now due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wanted to mention a couple virtual tools. You may have already heard about these. If you have not, have a chat with your advisor and see if it's something that you might be able to implement. You always want to ask your advisor anything like this, because they would know whether the school or the program that you're working with would allow it. But one of these tools is called Flipgrid. You may even use it in a class, and this is kind of cool because you can communicate with each other by making just short little videos, and it can be used on a phone, or you can even do it on a smartphone, or you can do it like I am on a webcam on a computer. Okay, so that's kind of cool. You can have music and videos, and you're sharing with each other. The second one is Remind 101. Again, this might be something you're familiar with. Maybe your teachers have sent it out, but it's also a great way to get out to a group of people if you need to send out just a short text. Hey, remember, we have a chapter meeting tomorrow. We need to make sure everybody's there. Or, hey, remember, everybody bring a canned good because we're collecting for the homeless shelter at our next chapter meeting. So just those quick information bites to get out there. And I have on here approved social media sites. I know that everybody's chapter is a little bit different. Some schools allow groups to have social media sites and some schools do not. So you definitely want to make sure that you have approval. But some of these are really effective not only to communicate with other chapter members, but also if you need to get the word out for a community, if you're having a clothing drive or a canned food drive or something where you would need to share, or sharing the successes of your career association chapter. So, and sometimes you can have private groups on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, or they could be school approved and just only going out to certain audiences. So just to remind you that even if we're in a virtual world right now, you still can stay connected with the rest of your chapter. Okay, if you remember, we talked about the 5 different goals. So how are you going to get to that? So this is one of those qualities of a leader is planning and organizing. So here's a little graphic, and this could be something that your advisor would already have, or someone on your officer team could come up with. But this is a kind of a brainstorming grid, so you can put in the different things that your chapter comes up with at a chapter meeting. Okay, and you can, if you remember the rules of brainstorming, you're writing down any idea. You know, you don't want to put down any ideas, because sometimes one idea leads to the next idea, leads to the next idea. So you would have a list to choose from, and then you can narrow that down to your top 3. And then once you have some concrete plans for each of these goals, then you want to put them on a calendar. And I have a graphic for you on this next slide. So this, again, could be something that your advisor already has, or somebody in your group could develop, but it kind of has the year split in the beginning of the school year, and then the second half of the school year, and then each of these different goals being met. So you can put the activity in career preparation. You know, maybe in August you had somebody come in from a local business. Civic awareness, you had somebody come in from the community, maybe somebody from city council. Okay. And don't forget social activities, maybe like a Friendsgiving or some kind of fun activity. That's an important part about being in a group. Problem solving skills. Sometimes being in a group means that there are problems. But being a leader means you being able to help solve whatever problem there is. If you had already planned a chapter activity and a problem came up with the date. So the idea is you don't want to get stuck in the problem area. You want to, think about what can we do besides the date that we already had planned, and then moving to the next date. Okay, what are some ideas that we have? Let's start going back to planning, and then having a realization of, okay, I think we're heading somewhere now. I don't feel like this guy does here, like, oh, we have a problem. He's starting to feel a little bit better, and then by solving that, going through the steps, you have some success. So we had mentioned this earlier when talking about delegating. So here are these collaboration skills that you want to make sure that everybody is being listened to and heard. If you're having a group, you don't want somebody to dominate, or you don't want the officers to dominate everyone, because as a chapter, everybody gets to, participate. So you want to pause and consider other people's feelings at the different meetings and what's happening. Always make sure that you're using your wise words and speaking with kindness. If this is a situation, talking about where everyone would be upset about a date change and you'd already had everything planned, then what would happen? Instead of allowing the negativity to take over, you want to speak with kindness. So pay attention to those feelings of yourself, or you may be feeling anxious too as a leader because you're upset that date change. So being aware that you want to control that so that your group can move forward. And sometimes just being able to find a middle ground. You're not going to get your way. The other group is not going to get their way, but finding that middle ground and people feel a little bit easier. All right. So conflict management. This is where I want you to get a piece of paper out. And while you're getting that piece of paper out, I'm going to keep talking because you're going to have conflicts and you're going to have failures as a leader. That's just part of it. Every leader has always had something that hasn't worked out quite right. So when you have that piece of paper, I want you to write down just something very brief, a time that you felt like it didn't work out the way that you wanted to, and it was something very disappointing to you. So just write that down. And then I want you to take that piece of paper and you're going to crumple it. Okay? And then I want you to look at it one more time. All right, that was the failure, and I did not enjoy it, and it was negative. All right? And then you're going to crumple it and you're going to throw it away, because that's over with. You're going to move on to the next thing. We all have failures. We all have to toss things to the side. But as a successful leader, you want to keep moving forward. So that's something you can do anytime when you feel like there's something really dragging you down. Write it on that piece of paper and then get rid of it. All right. I want to end today with a quote from Phil Jackson. He was actually the coach for the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was playing, and I thought this is a good way to kind of culminate and end where we started from the beginning, talking about how you know that a group has effective leadership. The strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team. So I leave you with that today, and I wish you the best of luck this school year, and I hope you have a great school year with your Career Association chapter. Good luck.